You got it. All right, so now I'm gonna shift the time. I feel like I'm on a radio show, kind of like I'm the MC of the VMAs or something. Without further ado, I'm sharing with you Katie Goldberg, who's a registered dietitian and an Epicure consultant. She was introduced to me through a nurse practitioner friend, and I love the work that she does. Nutrition is one of my favorite topics and favorite forms of self-care. And the company that she consults for, called Epicure, has really she'll explain it better than I ever could, but really great like starter kits for easy creation of meals at home for your family. And they're gluten-free and nut-free. And then a lot of them have really fantastic options for doing dairy-free. So you can add, by choosing to add a plant-based milk, then you have a dairy-free meal. And I love the simplicity, the easiness, the clean cooking aspect. You know, with doTERRA, we focus on pursue what's pure. And, you know, we're all about transparency and clean ingredients. And I think that what Katie has to offer really is a really good example of that. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the time over to Katie. Go ahead and unmute yourself, and the floor is yours.
I totally forgot about the unmute factor. Right.
Reminder.
I'm just used to, you know, sitting and watching on Zoom. So anyway, thank you so much for the introduction, and thanks for having me this morning. I'm really excited to be here. I am coming to you from Dallas, Texas. So it is a little bit earlier here. But it's perfect because my husband took the kids and they're like doing a little breakfast thing. So this is great. All right. So again, thank you, Angela, for what you were able to share. And it is kind of a hard left turn from this like very inspirational, like know your core values to, okay, let's get down to a little bit nitty gritty on what you're going to eat and how is that going to play out. But I think it really does come together a little bit better. One of the things I love that she was saying was, you know, like defining your core values, and you can't have 20. And I think that same thing is true for nutrition and what you eat. Like you can't hold on to all values. You can't make everything from scratch and organic and have all your family like it and have dinner ready at 6 and like have a life, right? And so some of the conversation today, as we talk about stress and uncertainty and the role that nutrition plays, is kind of figuring out what can you control, what do you want to control, and then letting everything else go, or as much of everything else as possible. So today I'm going to talk just briefly, kind of like what's the role of nutrition and stress, and kind of how do they interact with each other. We're going to talk about some key nutrients, and then we're going to go into the actual food demo portion and do a little bit of putting it into action. All right, so I'm sure that I am not, you know, the first person to say this, and I will not be the last today, just talking about, you know, why everything that's going on right now is so hard, right? Like why has 2020 just sort of kicked our butts? And I think, you know, the role of uncertainty can't really be understated. So uncertainty is fun if you're gambling or you're reading a mystery novel or something like that. You know, you get that adrenaline rush. Suspense is really fun. But when that uncertainty is not entertainment, it's actually downright terrible for most people, right? Uncertainty is a major cause of stress. It interrupts our ability to plan for the future. You know, in normal life, we use our past experiences to make decisions for the future. And then when we're dealing with something completely new, hello, all of 2020, we really can't rely on anything from the past. And so without that tool, it's really hard to not spend our time overthinking about what's the future going to hold, run through all the various scenarios in our head, and then ultimately, you know, be worrying about them. This creates anticipation and triggers a physiological stress. And everyone, I think this is kind of a key thing as I was digging in, right? We all have a different tolerance for uncertainty. So some people have a low tolerance, and that is associated with high stress and poor mental health, just on its own. Never mind what the uncertainty is or what the other things are going on. And a higher tolerance can actually decrease your stress levels. So one of the things you can do is practice like building your tolerance for uncertainty. I think we all got a crash course in that this year. But even like little things in life, it doesn't have to be a pandemic to push you, but little things can help create a little more resilience. So once we create that stress, think like fight or flight response, you get hormonal surges, increased heart rate, and over time, that really builds up to impact your health. So we're talking things like weight gain, acne, high blood pressure, high blood sugar, high cholesterol. Stress is even a risk factor for cancer, right? So there's just a lot going on, and it's hard because as we talk about stress, we get stressed. So like I'm even stressed talking about it. As you're listening, it just tends to create this stress reaction. So when we actually think about stress and nutrition, there's two key things here. One, there's how to eat to reduce stress, right? How are we managing our stress through good nutrition? And then there's also the fact that we tend to respond to stress by eating, stress eating, right? So both of those play a role in the conversation today and are key factors as we're thinking. So stress eating, stress people tend to lose sleep, they exercise less, they drink more alcohol. Like, hello, you've heard about the quarantine 15, right? This is where it's coming from. Stress is linked to weight gain. Sometimes in the short term, stress can shut down your appetite, right? That fight or flight response. If you're going to need to flight or fight, then you need an empty stomach. You need to like shut down that digestion. And so in the beginning, you might feel actually less hungry, but long-term stress will actually increase your appetite. Essentially, the body's stress response gets stuck in that on position, and your body never goes back down, and your body just kind of like overrides the whole thing, and it will jack up your appetite. And so it's not just you're not imagining it, that it really is going on behind the scenes in your body. And then when we're stressed, and that can be emotional stress or physical stress, right? When we're stressed, we tend to seek out foods that are high in fat, in sugar, or in both. And in the short term, we might feel better. I mean, there's a reason why we call these foods comfort foods, right? They actually are a comfort. They dampen the body's stress-related responses and emotions. They are a soothing balm in the moment. But these foods also contribute to inflammation, which is an internal form of stress. So it actually makes the situation worse in the long term. Essentially, the catch-22 of stress eating is the things we turn to in times of stress to calm or comfort us cause more stress. So where does that leave us, right? Maybe a little depressed. So a couple things as we're looking at managing our stress and uncertainty. So the first thing is really to know what your stressors are, right? Identify the circumstances and emotions that lead you to stress eat. And then once you start to recognize them, you can take steps to avoid them or at least be prepared for them. I think one of the things I talk about with a lot of my clients is it's completely normal to eat for non-hunger reasons, right? Food is emotional, food is comfort, food is culture. So it's not the problem. I guess the goal is not, I'm never going to emotionally eat again. I'm never going to stress eat again. It's what happens when you do, how do you recover from it? How do you acknowledge that it's actually playing a good role in your life, in the short term, and like, just let that go. Don't be stressed about the fact that you stress ate, I guess is what I'm saying. Acknowledge it, let it be a thing, and then move on, as opposed to, and now it becomes a slippery slope of that's where you're living. Exercising is going to reduce stress, obviously, but also remember that exercise can cause stress. So exercise is a form of stress on our body, and so you want to find that balance between how much you are using it to relieve stress and how much internal stress you could be causing. Obviously, reaching out for help, talking to people, working it out. All of these things are like the behind the scenes ways to help prevent you from eating all of your feelings, right? I mean, that's one of the goals, is like, how do we handle before we get to the eating? Practicing mindfulness, I think this is like basically what the whole morning is really going to be stressing. I mean, from the yoga this morning, like all of this, right? Like, how can you be more present in what you're doing? So when it comes to food, this means slowing down, pay attention to what you're eating, even how you eat. Like, how many times do you chew your food before you swallow it? I'm not saying you need to be like a weirdo and chew like 25 times every bite before you swallow, but do you even realize that you're chewing, or is it kind of like going in and then right down? So just being fully present when you're eating. Try to single task when you're eating, makes a really big difference. Acknowledge that connection between the food and your body. And then maybe you've heard of the concept of intuitive eating. So this really helps you connect to your own internal hunger cues, and your fullness cues. Obviously, those are two sides of the same coin. And then when you're able to understand and trust your own natural eating cues, you don't have to feel like there's so many food rules. And you can actually just acknowledge that you're craving a food, enjoy it, and move on with life. And it tends to, once you give yourself more permission to eat, it tends to reduce some of those cravings. If you think about when you're at a buffet, like if you go on a cruise, one day we'll go on those again. But if you remember back, you went to a cruise or an all-you-can-eat resort or all-inclusive resort, something like that. The first day, it is so exciting, whatever's on that buffet table. And by the end of it, you're like, ugh, this again, right? You adapt to things. And so if once you start actually enjoying the foods that you're craving, you're not going to consume them like in your body weight, that worth of them. You actually start to adapt and change, and it just becomes like chocolate is just a thing you enjoy. Chocolate is not a thing that takes over your life. And following a schedule, that's super, 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 like, this cannot be understated. When life goes crazy, it feels like food can be one of the things to go, but actually having regular meals, keeping whatever schedule you were on, or maybe creating a little bit more of a schedule if you weren't on one, is really going to help. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. And then my favorite is let go and just focus on the things that you can control. Trying to maintain perfection in your eating during times of stress will create more stress. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. So I tell clients, like, harness your inner B+ attitude, right? Like, just we're not going for the A+. We're not even going for an A. Just a nice, solid B+. You're still at the top of the class, but like, you're not the valedictorian, right? And that is okay. That is going to actually allow you much more sustainability and long-term ability to put these habits and actions in place. And you're not going to go from, A+ to F, just like hang out in that B+. And recognize that it's okay to have a backup plan or a flexible eating plan. All the things I'm going to talk about in the next few minutes, these are ideal, right? These are best case scenario. This is fit these in when you can. This is not, this is exactly how you have to eat and everything else is going to like cause cancer, the extremist of what stress is going to bring into your life. So it's okay to have a backup plan. I actually recommend highly having a backup plan. Like, always have something in your pantry or freezer or fridge, like a 5-minute meal that people will like. It could be boxed mac and cheese and frozen peas. Like, it does not have to be fancy, just something that prevents you from going to kind of the extreme takeout. And takeout is essentially like the euphemism for anything that's going to make you feel like garbage later, or this is not really what I want to be putting in my body. So finding something your family likes that's easy, you can pull together in 5 minutes, and you can keep in your pantry and freezer at all times. All right, so now we're going to start talking about some general patterns, ways of approaching food in times of stress. So I already talked about this concept of eating regularly. And I tell people, try to eat every 3 or 4 hours. Now, this means you're not eating every hour, and you're not eating only once or twice a day, right? So it's probably 3 meals and a snack for most of us, somewhere around there. This helps your body know what to expect, so it doesn't go into fight or flight or panic. When we go long periods of time without eating, your body starts to like feel nervous, like, oh, Like when are you going to feed me again? What's going on here? And then anyway, just the response is not good. So eating every 3 or 4 hours is going to help your body stay fueled. You're going to feel better. You're going to be more focused when you have fuel in your system on a regular basis. Then I alluded to this concept of honoring your hunger and fullness cues. So this is eating enough, but not too much, to help curb cravings and actually can prevent overeating. So I give people a scale. Say 0 is starving, like, oh my gosh, I can't remember the last time I ate. I'm going to eat my arm if I have to. And 10 is like your worst Thanksgiving ever, where you're just painfully full. Okay, so like that's your scale. It is time to eat when you get to like a 3 or a 4. Like, I'm hungry. My stomach's starting to grumble a little bit. I could definitely eat. And then you stop when you get to a 6 or a 7. I'm feeling satisfied. I probably could eat a little bit more, but I don't need to. I'm just nice and content. And this is all subjective, right? So just the goal there is to kind of stay in the middle. So don't let your hunger level drop. I guess the hunger would increase, but the number on the scale would drop so low that you get to hangry. So you want to eat before then, and you want to stop before things start to feel uncomfortable, because it will take a little bit of time for your body to register also how much you've eaten. So kind of finding that hunger and fullness scale can be really helpful. All right, and then avoiding the things that are going to zap your energy. And this is hard. So this is what I'm talking about with the comfort foods. So thinking about avoiding your unhealthy fats. I'm talking saturated fats, butter, highly processed things, high animal fat, all of that. Those unhealthy fats create inflammation. Added sugar is going to be associated with inflammation. Just anything that's been highly processed, right? It's quick and easy, but it's also a long-term energy zapper. And then be really mindful of your beverages. So specifically caffeine and alcohol. How are you using those to moderate your energy level? So caffeine will cause a spike, as we all know, that's why we do it, and then a plummet in energy. And alcohol can lower stress in the moment, but it's going to reduce your sleep quality, it's going to increase inflammation, and long-term, it's actually going to create more stress. And the real catch-22 that I'm seeing so much, and I'm raising my hand when I say this too, I'm not pointing fingers, I'm raising my hand, is we have our coffee in the morning, maybe a mid-morning pickup, maybe even a mid-afternoon pickup, and then we get home, and then we need to wind down. And so then we're doing the alcohol, a glass of wine just to like stress us. So our whole day is being manipulated by some kind of outside force, right? Either caffeine or alcohol to help manipulate how our body is responding to things. Again, guilty as charged. I'm not pointing fingers. But when you remove those things, for instance, there was like a blissful little bit in second trimester of pregnancy where I wasn't like nauseous or too tired, when I realized I was not having caffeine and not having alcohol, and I just like slept. It was amazing. Like my body just slept when it needed to. And it's not fun to go about cutting those things out. But then you start to realize what kind of sleep and energy levels your body naturally has. I recommend every once in a while, like cutting these things out for a week, just seeing how your body responds. Remind yourself that actually being dependent on these things to manage your energy or relaxation does you no good. Again, easier said than done. But once you quit once and kind of realize how your body responds, it's eye-opening, and you're willing to do it again later. Okay, so moving a little bit more into like real nutrients, right? So prioritizing fiber and protein. When you prioritize these two nutrients, it simplifies things, right? When you're looking at a nutrition label, don't look at everything. That's too overwhelming. When you're picking foods out of your pantry at the grocery store, whatever, it's too overwhelming when you think about you have the whole world to choose from. And you hear conflicting things everywhere about what's the most important thing in your food. So when you prioritize fiber and protein, this means that you are going to have long sustained blood sugars and energy from that protein. It's going to prevent the spikes and crashes. Fiber is going to do that same thing. Fiber is also going to make sure that you get in some nice, healthy carbs. There's going to be color on your plate naturally. There's going to be a balance if you prioritize those two things. Good goal, and this is just kind of like bonus learning for those of you who like numbers, would be about 30 grams of fiber a day, maybe a little bit more, and then at least 20 grams of protein per meal. And I stress the per meal. It's not just about how much you get each day. Your body cannot store protein. And so it needs to be available pretty much all the time for your body to use it. So spreading your protein out throughout the day is really key. And then this is going to also just ensure that you're getting food from multiple food groups: whole grains and protein, fruits and veggies, fat-free or low-fat dairy. Again, that's not rocket science. You've heard all those things before. But if you are so focused on like, okay, I gotta get, one thing from here and one thing from here, just if you slim it down to fiber and protein, a lot of other decisions are gonna just naturally be made for you. And it's gonna simplify it. All right, so now we're gonna dig in a little bit more to nutrients specifically that are going to help decrease inflammation, that are going to help mitigate stress. Okay, and hang on, let me move this over, make sure that I don't have any questions in the side chat. Okay, so as I said about protein, consistency and moderation are key. So do not save all your protein for dinner. Most of us actually get enough protein in the day, our body can't use it all. And that's why we want to spread it out. And then avoiding too much on the animal foods side of things is going to cause inflammation. So making sure that you're also incorporating things like lentils and tofu and beans and nuts and seeds, and using plant-based sources as well as animal sources. Again, animal sources are fantastic in terms of quality. Chicken, fish, dairy, beef. I'm not even demonizing anything, right? They all have their role, but when you skew too much towards the animal, it's going to put too much inflammation in your body, more than you're really looking for. So along with that, kind of the flip side would be our healthy fats. So I'm sure you've heard of your omega-3s. These are going to be the ones that are really going to reduce that inflammation. There's actually a measure of inflammation, it's like systemic inflammation in our body. The test is called C-reactive protein. Well, that's what the protein is called, and then we can do a blood test to measure it. And that's really our sign of systemic inflammation. And your omega-3s are going to just reduce that. So whatever is going on, your body's just going to kind of calm everything down with those omega-3s. So the goal there would be to have fish twice a week, which might be 200% more than you're currently doing fish. I don't know, but that's our goal. So maybe 3 or 4 ounces, that's not tons really. 3 or 4 ounces twice a week is really gonna help you hit that omega-3 goal. So think salmon, that's gonna be our most popular for most Americans. But a fatty tuna, canned tuna is gonna have some omega-3s, but usually that's really, really lean. And so your percentage of omega-3s isn't gonna be as high. Sardines, anchovies, not necessarily as popular, but great options. And then halibut. Those are kind of the big ones that Americans are familiar with. And then other healthy fats like olive oil, avocado, those are also going to help. The big thing that they do is provide protective benefits for the rest of your body and make sure that they essentially replace some of those other unhealthy fats. But omega-3s are your real key ones to work on. Okay. All right, how we doing? I feel like I'm just like, ah. All right, so the next thing is magnesium. So
you're doing really great. And Angela said the same thing. She's like, I feel like I'm just talking to nobody. We're here and I'm watching the comments on Facebook.
Okay.
And everybody's loving like your B+ idea about like your approach to food and
life-changing. Yes.
I wanted to say too that like when quarantine hit, I actually got into a really great rhythm with my routine because I couldn't go anywhere. So I got really good, and I could feel a total shift with my ability to manage stress because I wasn't like hangry and managing my life at the same time, which I often will allow that to happen if I'm not on top of it. I will just work and work and work until I'm like, I'm going to die if I don't eat. So, and I find that like the key with that is having food that's readily available. So you don't have to recreate the wheel every time you're hungry, because you're going to be hungry.
Yes, that's
It's
a normal part of life. You will get hungry.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're doing a great job. I love that you're about to talk about magnesium. That's one of my favorite.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Go.
Absolutely. Okay. So research really shows us that magnesium helps with functions, like body functions that are going to reduce stress and anxiety. Catch 22 is that stress is going to reduce your magnesium stores. So again, we're talking a lot of catch 22s in this, right? So it's like vicious cycles. So we got to pull ourselves out one way or another. So magnesium deficiency is associated with insomnia, associated with stress, depression, anxiety, all of these things. So magnesium plays a role in producing the neurotransmitter GABA, G-A-B-A. Mostly I say all this so you understand there's things going on behind the scenes, not because I expect everyone's following me on a biochemistry level, but it's not just like, oh, the food is good, I swear, right? Like these are the things that it's affecting in your body. So GABA is a neurotransmitter. It promotes sleep. It actually helps you relax just in general. So making sure that you're having an appropriate amount of magnesium is going to improve everything from your gut health, your sleep. Good sleep is going to reduce your stress on its own. Magnesium is going to help you relax and reduce stress. So it hits like good sleep, reducing your stress, and impacting gut health, right? All of these things. So magnesium is really going to be a stabilizing nutrient for your mood, for your overall stress level. I mean, some research has even shown that supplementing with magnesium can actually be a treatment for mild depression. So it can really make a huge impact. I'm obviously going to push food first, but there are supplements out there. But you know, my role is mostly to encourage food first. Another nutrient that's pretty key is folate. So maybe I think we're probably a lot of women here, so you mostly know about folate in regards to your prenatals. You've probably been scared into taking folate, whether you're on birth control or trying to have a baby or had a baby. But folate really plays a role throughout our whole life, specifically on brain function. So folate is needed for DNA creation, DNA repair. It helps regulate gene expression. So really very crucial to overall health and longevity. And then it's also plays a role in making more neurotransmitters. And I apologize, I'm really not trying to throw around jargon. So neurotransmitter is just something that impacts your brain. It's a hormone that works on your brain. So serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine. So these are like your happy hormones and your calming hormones. And then the hormone melatonin, which we're all familiar with in terms of sleep. So folate is going to help make all of those. So folate deficiency is going to jack you up on being able to produce all of those things. And so, you know, we all want the happy hormones. So one symptom of low folate can also be depression, but a long-term folate deficiency is actually associated with dementia. So it is like important today and important for your future as well. I feel like brain health is kind of like the next hot thing that people are talking about. Don't forget about your antioxidants, fruits and veggies. I mean, we don't need to get into it. If you're going to eat a fruit or veggie, do it. Like the best fruit and vegetable you eat is the healthiest fruit and vegetable is the one you eat, right? It does no good if it's like you bought it and then it goes, it goes bad in your fridge. Like, don't stress about picking and choosing, just eat more, right? Like more color is better, but like in general, just enjoy fruits and vegetables and don't stress about superfood versus just like a plain old regular fruit or vegetable. That they're all good. They're all good. Just do it. And then the last thing is probiotics. So again, a healthy gut is a healthy body. So this is your fermented foods, yogurt and kefir probably our most popular, common options that you would have even heard about 10 years ago. Now we're also more familiar with things like kimchi and kombucha and other fermented soy, like lots of great options. So adding those in is going to create a healthy gut. And yeah, I mean, it cannot be overstated, the role of the gut in overall health in the body. It's just gonna make everything better. Okay, so that's a lot of background. Now we're going to have the fun part of putting it into practice. So we are going to make today my stress-busting smoothie and then a salmon power bowl. So both of these things are incorporating the nutrients that we talked about, the principles that we talked about into actual food. And I'm going to be using some Epicure products. So I'm going to do my quick spiel on Epicure so you can learn a little bit more about the company, and then I'll show you some of the products that I'm using. So as Liz already mentioned, Epicure is a company that started in company, and the company really started by a working mom who was trying to find good, healthy options for her family that were convenient, because again, working mom, hello, like you need fast, convenient, and healthy. And she was just really disappointed by what she found out there. And so she started creating her own, and 2 decades later, boom, like here we are, a full-fledged company. Obviously some steps in between, but you get the idea. So the things that I love about Epicure as a registered dietitian, they have a very, very, very simple ingredient list. So they have a long list of things they will never include in their food. So if you've seen like Whole Foods list of, ingredients that you'll never find in their foods, very similar to something like that. So things like artificial colors and flavors. They're very committed to no GMO, if that's a personal preference of yours. Obviously no high fructose corn syrup, and a lot of the kind of the big ones that we get scared about having in our food. They're also committed to being allergen friendly. So like Liz mentioned, all the products are gluten-free, including the baked goods. So we have mixes for like carrot cake and brownies and things like that, all gluten-free. Everything is nut-free. I will put a tiny asterisk next to that and say that there's coconut. And so for some people that is a combined sensitivity, but they are like separate entities. So there is coconut. And then very few things have any dairy in them, and there's always great opportunities for a dairy-free option for all of these. So for people who are sensitive, allergies, or just wanting to be conscious of accommodating different members of the family, things like that, some great choices here. Also really conscious of sugar and sodium. So I think like half of the products are sodium free, and the other half, the rest are sodium conscious. Maybe there's a few that are a little higher. And added sugar is very, very minimal and intentional. So it's not about never ever, like, again, I said carrot cake, there's gotta be sugar in that, right? But instead of it being like a cup or 2 cups of sugar, like you might get in a recipe you make or a carrot cake you grab from the grocery store, it's probably more along the lines of like a 1/4 cup, right? So it's still there, but it's serving its purpose and then kind of moving on. Okay, so we have as a product line, we've got time-saving cookware, we've got meal solutions, and then we've got like herbs and spices, kind of like for a home cook who's looking to more DIY it. And then things like protein powder, and some breakfast solutions. So I'm going to showcase a few things today. We're going to start with our smoothie. All right, so in our smoothie, we are going to start with a little bit of almond milk. And this is a personal preference. Like you could totally do regular milk if you want. I like almond milk in my smoothies because I like to use protein powder instead of adding protein through yogurt or something else thickening. This is a personal preference, okay? And this is better than water. So that's why I go that route, but this provides a dairy-free option if you want it. All right, so we're gonna go maybe like 2/3 of a cup of almond milk, somewhere in there. All right, then I'm gonna add my Epicure protein powder. And so this is a vanilla protein powder, and I'm sorry, guys. We are moving in 3 days, and so half of my kitchen is packed up or not here, and so my big tub of this made it to the new house already. So this is just my sample size. So I'm sorry because you can't see it, but it's a very beautiful package.
Thank you for doing this in the middle of moving. Are you?
Oh my gosh, it's like the whole year is just like we gotta do, you know. So no, this is great. Again, my husband took the kids. They ran over to the new house. They're having fun. But a couple of things that I want to mention about the protein powder. So it is a vegan protein powder. So it is pea and fava bean based. There's 20 grams of protein per scoop, 3 grams of sugar. So they do use a little bit of coconut sugar to sweeten it, and then some stevia. So I like that it's actually a blend. I don't like too much stevia. I don't think it tastes good. So that's, again, my personal preference, and that's why I highlight it. Okay, so we've got our liquid, our protein powder. So again, the protein is one of the things we highlighted, as well as skewing more towards plant-based protein than animal protein, keeping to our principles that we mentioned. Okay, then I'm going to add about a cup of mixed frozen berries. These are going to provide antioxidants. They're high in fiber. I didn't even talk about fiber. Well, I talked about the concept of getting it, but not as it relates to stress. Fiber is magic. It does everything. Always more fiber in your diet. Always more fiber. So we got our berries, the powder, the liquid. Then I'm going to add a little bit of spinach. This guy, it looks like a really sad bag of spinach. It's because it was starting to wilt, so I threw it in the freezer. And so this works great for smoothies before it actually goes bad. So it's about a handful of spinach in there. That's going to be magnesium, folate, antioxidants. All good things in there. Then I'm going to add a little bit of flaxseed. So this is going to be some omega-3s. Now, I will tell you that omega-3s that are not from fish are not going to convert as well in your body. So if you get it from fish, it's basically like 100% conversion to all it's EPA and DHA, like the ideal form of omega-3s. Your plant-based are going to be ALA, different form of omega-3. It only converts maybe 10 to 20% into the highly effective stuff. It's still valuable. It's not throwing it out. If we were having a conversation and you were needed like therapeutic levels, I'd be splitting hairs a little more, but there's still value here. But just so you know, there is a difference. So we're going to throw in maybe a tablespoon. One thing, if you ever watch me do these cooking demos, I'm a horrible measurer. That's how I live. So, you know, a tablespoon. Lots of flexibility here to make it your own. Okay, and then, let me find my thing. Okay. I'm going to add just a tiny bit of yogurt for a little bit of fat and a little bit of probiotics. You could also do half a banana. Obviously not the same nutritional benefits, but from a texture perspective, going to give you the same thing. So nice creaminess. I'm adding a couple tablespoons. Sorry, I do not have, you know, like one of those fancy cooking demo kitchens, so you can't fully see everything I'm doing, but you get the idea. I'm trying to give you a good balance of not being bored, but actually getting to see me do some things. All right, and then we're going to add some of the fun. So this is actually from Epicure, but it's just cinnamon. So we're going to shake some cinnamon in there. I don't know, it's probably like a half teaspoon or something. And the main reason we're going to do that is because we want to balance out the turmeric and pepper blend that we're going to put in here. So turmeric is going to be anti-inflammatory. Combining the turmeric with the pepper is going to give you the best way to absorb that turmeric. So you might have seen that, you know, if you're following turmeric, you'll know that black pepper is going to help. So the piperin in the black pepper is going to help activate the curcumin in the turmeric and make it more effective. So this is going to be a little bit spicy. You're going to get a little bit of kind of that chai flavor going on, but mostly it's still going to be vanilla and berries. You could also you could do chocolate protein powder if you want, or add in some just plain cocoa. That would give you a little more magnesium. Personal preference, plenty of ways to do it. All right, so here's our guy. I'm going to use the blender over here so you guys don't all get blasted by my blender because it's pretty loud. Always helps if you plug it in first. All right. keeps it super simple. Again, this is smoothie for one. So you can see it's still got that beautiful like berry flavor. You kind of are hiding the spinach in there. You don't really notice. Just for fun, I'm gonna top with a little bit more of the turmeric because I think it looks pretty and always a little more turmeric. So I love this grinder, the turmeric black pepper grinder. It's super convenient. You can throw just a little bit of turmeric on pretty much anything you make. I mean, again, like turmeric isn't like the fanciest tasting, but you can always put a little bit. I actually really like it on mac and cheese. So anyway, plenty of fun ways you can use it. And so that is quick and easy smoothie breakfast.
So I just want to ask you a quick question. So like, does the turmeric black pepper flavor come through in smoothie?
A little bit. Like it's got a tiny bit of like that chai kind of flavor in the background, but it's not like, oh, I'm having curry and berries. Like it's not that. It's not that. We're not putting that much in. I mean, because you're grinding it yourself, it's it's maybe a quarter teaspoon, right? So it's enough where you're getting a little bit of benefit, but not so much that you're tasting like you're eating a curry.
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, a curry smoothie is not what we're going for. If you want that, just make a soup. Have it be totally different. Plenty of great anti-inflammatory soups. That's not what we're going for today. So yeah, you get a little bit of the benefit. I'll try it and triple check for you. But
It looks delicious.
Yeah. You just get like a little bit of that flavor, but for the most part, you're still getting the vanilla and the berry. Those are your kind of outstanding flavors.
You don't need a ton of it to get the anti-inflammatory benefit. So I like your idea of sprinkling that over, macaroni and cheese. I make a vegan macaroni and cheese with cashews, and one of the ingredients is turmeric because it adds
the color,
color too, and it does have a lot of that yellow color. So I love it. Good for you.
Yeah. Throw in a little black pepper, and then you get even more benefits of the turmeric. So. Okay, fantastic. So now we're going to move on to our power bowl. So we are going to start making some quinoa in the microwave. So let me introduce to you my most favorite thing I own in the kitchen. And this is the multi-purpose steamer from Epicure. So it is silicone. We have a bunch of silicone cookware. I mentioned that there's time-saving cookware. That's what this is. It is obviously food grade silicone, no fillers, really, really safe. So even these are freezer safe, dishwasher safe, oven safe up to I think 445. So basically 425 in your oven. These can go all around your house with you, all around your kitchen. They can even be served. If you're just serving your own family, you can eat right out of this. Like this can be the serving vessel. If you're having company, maybe pull it out. But this is one of those things that everyone at Epicure said like, oh my gosh, it's life-changing. And I was like, is it though? And it is. It really is. I use it probably every day, at least 5 times a week. I made everything from a whole chicken, like a roast chicken in my microwave, to baked potatoes. I do rice and quinoa in it a lot. I do big batches of oatmeal for the kids. It is then completely hands-off. It doesn't spill all over your stove like the grains. And it just really saves time, allows you to kind of get multiple things done at once. Okay, so we're gonna start with the quinoa. Where's my measuring? We're gonna do a cup of quinoa in here. And this is really gonna create more quinoa than we need, but quinoa works really well in your fridge for later in the week for other things. You can freeze it and then have it ready. I say, like, if you're making a grain, always make more than you need and then save the rest for later.
I've got my eye on that steamer. I've seen you use it a couple times, and I'm like, that's incredible.
I'm telling you, it really will change your life. Oh, and I did not mention, so I mentioned a whole chicken, but I cook like, I'll do ground beef in here. I will do chicken strips for like fajita meat. And it does not taste like microwaved meat, which is very key because microwave chicken just does not have a yummy ring to it. I have even done fish in it.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, I was super skeptical on that one, and it came out great. Okay, so we are gonna put this in the microwave. All I did, the water and the quinoa. You could totally add some broth. In fact, Epicure has some great like broth mixes that are very sodium conscious, very high nutritional use, all that. But you can just use water as well, up to you. A couple things I want to highlight: the handles and then the steam release. You want those to be on opposite sides, so when you pull it out of the microwave, you're not steaming your hands off. I speak from experience. All right. Okay, so that's gonna take a little while in the background. I actually forgot I was gonna start before the smoothie. But anyway, 12 minutes in the microwave, completely hands off. We're gonna forget about it. Now we are going to move on. Let me see, I'm gonna move my computer over here a little bit. We're gonna head over to the stove because I'm going to cook up some salmon and I'm gonna saute some greens. So with the salmon, and this is, again, a much larger piece than you would need for one person. I don't want to tip it too much because there's some marinade on it. When I woke up this morning, I sprinkled on a little bit of our balsamic vinaigrette mix, and then a tiny bit of oil and a tiny bit of vinegar. So it's been marinating for a little bit in this. Probably a nice 30-minute marinade would be fine. You could just sprinkle it on and then cook it, whatever you want. But it's been marinating, for full disclosure. All right, we're just gonna do a quick cook on the stove here of this.
I can't smell the marinade, but you are making me hungry.
I'll take that. I'll take that. That's good. Yeah, I know. It would kind of change my quarantine life if I could find a way to get smell and taste to come through the internet, because then people could actually appreciate these things as I'm making them. But mostly what I want to show you is it really can be easy. It doesn't have to be super time consuming. And then you have to trust me on the delicious part. But mostly I want to show you it's doable because, you know, we're all busy. No one has time to spend an hour cooking dinner each night. Like, we're trying to get dinner on the table fast. We're trying to reduce the stress and the number of decisions we're making. Like, we just need to eat, you know? Eating does not have to be an extravagant adventure every day. You know, it's sometimes you just have to eat. And, you know, your kids help you kind of prioritize that. It's like, ain't nobody got time for some fancy meal. Okay, so that's cooking. We're also gonna saute up some greens. This is gonna get a little bit loud, so I'm gonna try to talk over it, and my apologies. All right, so over here, I've got some kale that I chopped up. This was just the good, like, bulk kale. You could totally do baby kale. You could do dinosaur kale, purple kale, any kale, right? What we're looking for here is the magnesium, the fiber, and the folate, okay, and our leafy greens. And then a little bit of spinach for good measure.
This is awesome. So you're calling this a protein bowl? Is that what I think you called it?
I called it a power bowl. It's just a fancy name. It's just a bowl. Yeah.
I love it. It sounds fancy because you
just call it whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it's you know, I think bowls are very common now. I was thinking about making a salad, but we're in fall, and you know, more of like a hearty bowl feels like a little more warming and comforting, and might be more realistic. Also, like, it's so predictable for a dietitian to make a salad, so I wanted to, you know, like, we eat other things too. Salads are great, but we eat other foods. Okay, so the greens are just basically like wilting down a little bit. They're quick saute. I'm gonna check over here on the salmon. I did skin side down, so I will be flipping it over. Depending on how it worked, I might scoop it off of the skin. I might just flip it over. We'll see. It's all touch and go.
it's always a gamble. It could either be like seared to the pan or perfectly attached. You never know. That's actually my favorite part of the fish.
Oh yeah?
I know it's totally weird, and my boyfriend thinks I'm totally gross, but it's like
you do too.
And it's
yes.
good, and it's where all the flavor is.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Cooking this down a little bit. You know what? Actually, I should put a lid on this. That'll help. All right. And so basically, the greens and the quinoa, that can all always be made ahead of time. Does not need to be made in the moment. Obviously, salmon is not going to do quite as well being made ahead of time, but I forgot to mention, actually, and I almost did it this way, you can use canned salmon. That is completely acceptable. I prefer to go for the variety that is skinless and boneless, but you can do any kind of canned salmon. You could do the same marinating, just kind of mixing in the seasoning with it to give it a little more flavor so it doesn't taste like straight out of a can. Usually I reserve canned salmon for things like a salmon cake or something where you're mixing it with other things. But if you add a little bit of the seasoning and marinate to it, that will help freshen it up. You could heat it up, you could make it cold. There's a lot of flexibility. I like to provide a lot of options for people so you don't look at what I'm making and go, oh, but I don't like that, so I wouldn't do it, or that would work for my family. Like, there's so many ways to customize this. I'm just kind of highlighting where our key nutrients are coming from. And that is my big thing. Okay, so this is still cooking. These guys are coming down. Ooh, oh yeah, that's a nice. Okay. While that is going, I'm going to talk about some of our meal solutions. So, there's prizes for participation. So I want to highlight some of the things that are going to potentially come to a winner. So we talked about fall comfort foods and stress, right? So here we go. Creamy pesto Parmesan chicken. Ultimate comfort food, but hits all of our key nutrients and avoids the things that are going to zap your energy. Beef and broccoli stir fry, personal favorite. I've also made this with tofu and broccoli stir fry, absolutely delicious, and enjoyed by the family. Sweet garlic chicken, also, this might actually be my favorite. It was fantastic. It would also make great like chicken wings or faux chicken wings or chicken strips or something like that, like just that sweet garlic flavor, awesome. You guys are in Utica. This is not a buffalo wing. Okay, you got to think about it differently. This is totally different. I grew up in Rochester. I know, like this is not Frank's, right? But it would be delicious. So those are some of our fall specific meal starters. Some of my other favorites: sweet and sour stir fry, butter chicken, pulled chicken. Personal fan favorite, obviously, mac and cheese. What I love about this mac and cheese, right, you can provide your own, you have to provide your own pasta. So you can go regular, whole wheat, gluten-free, rice-based, chickpea-based, like whatever kind of pasta suits you. And so essentially this is like the cheese packet inside. So obviously this cannot be dairy-free, but it can be dairy light because you can mix this with almond milk or cashew milk or something like that, and it will work just fine. So it doesn't have to be like over the top cheesy mac and cheese, or over the top dairy, I guess. You still get the nice cheese flavor. So I love having this on hand. So basically what the meal solutions are is all the spices you would need for a dinner. Let me give you an example just with the sweet garlic chicken, what else you need to make this a full meal. So you do three cups of cubed sweet potatoes. You can buy those already cubed. You can use frozen, or you can chop them yourself if you have the desire. A little bit of oil, a pound of boneless chicken thighs, and then the seasoning, and that's it. I ended up serving this with like a side of bag salad. I think you see the picture. There's some like sauteed greens in there, so you can serve it kind of as you desire. You can add, another carb or what, but like the basic is super easy. You can get it on the table really fast. All of these meal solutions are about, once you add in all your groceries and everything, averages about $2.50 per serving. So really economical. And that's another thing that I really appreciate about this company is that they are giving you convenience without breaking the bank. It's like, it's for real people. Sometimes you go to things you learn about products, and you're like, well, great. So for $50, you can buy a seasoning blend. And you're like, what? No. So this is like real.
That reminds me too of like we did, I think when we moved into this house, we did a lot of like HelloFresh and Blue Apron. And it was, what I loved about it was learning new cooking techniques, which I feel like you'll do that with this as well. But it wasn't super affordable. You got one portion and it wasn't like I could eat two of them, basically. Like I could eat what they sent for the two of us in one sitting.
Right.
And I mean, they were delicious, but overpriced for the per plate value for sure.
Exactly. Once you add in shipping on those, you know, they're like $15 a serving.
Oh, yeah.
And that, you know, for what they are, they're fantastic. But there are other options out there. It doesn't have to be I cook from scratch or I do HelloFresh, right? There's tons of different options out there. One of the things I do like about this too is that it gives you a little bit more flexibility. So you can buy, you know, we've got like a 3-week easy dinners kind of package. So you basically, you don't have to think. It's a meal plan for you all in one. You don't have to decide what's for dinner, but you also don't have to have all of the chicken purchased at once. And, you know, you can do a little more mix and match. Like, hey, you don't like broccoli, but your kids will eat spinach. Great, swap it out, right? Like there's so many ways to customize it. These can hang out in your pantry forever. And then you just grab the fresh ingredients that you need at the store. So I like the flexibility that it provides.
Cool. Katie, can you tell us, so that package of all those different mixes, that is your giveaway today? Tell us more.
So the giveaway today, I'm going to do 2 of these meal solutions as a giveaway today. Yeah, no, that's a good. I was showing you some of my favorites.
I could eat a month with them. Holy cow. Okay, so 2 of them. And do they get to pick? Do they get to pick which one it is?
I will let them pick, yes.
Oh, cool.
Yes. And then I will also say for everyone watching, whether you, hang on, let me check. I feel like things are getting a little too hot over here. Okay. Whether you are the winner or not, anyone who sees this video before September 30th, okay, so that's next Wednesday, and places an order through Epicure, I will reimburse you your shipping cost. Okay, so basically free shipping for anyone who orders. I'm gonna send the link right now, Elizabeth, to you over Zoom, and so that can go out through the Facebook group. So that link is good through September 30th. You essentially have to pay for the shipping up front, but then I'll reach out to you and Venmo, PayPal. I'll reimburse you on the shipping cost. This is a personal thing, and there's no way to do it through that Epicure system. So that's for anyone who is interested. All right. It's a good thing. I'm watching my time. We're almost done. The microwave is about to go off, and then I'm going to show you this plated. And I'm being conscious of time. I've got 3 minutes. I'm going to make this happen. All right.
We're setting the timer.
Exactly.
Knows and like, I don't know. We're gonna win. You're definitely gonna win though.
All right.
Nice.
Okay. So I put this on a plate too because it doesn't have a lot of form on its own. You know, it's very like floppy. And so when it's hot and a little bit heavy, you don't want to mess with it, especially if your microwave is up high. Like this is the worst setup here ever. All right. I just want to show you. Okay. Hold, please.
Hold, please.
I'm going to show you that it is nice and cooked. So I'm going to fluff it up a little bit, but 12 minutes, all hands off, totally done for you. Okay. Now we are plating this up. My greens got a little overdone. I failed to fully pay attention to them.
That's okay.
So there's a little bit of char.
There was a little bit of distraction. That's what happens when you go live.
That's what happens when you go. Indeed. Okay. So we've got our greens. We've got our quinoa in here. And we're going to add some of this fish. Okay, that's a skimpy little portion. Hang on.
We'd all like to come over and eat them now. So.
All right. Then I'm going to add a little bit of chopped red pepper. And this is just for a little extra nutrient boost, and I like a texture difference. You could totally cook those up if you prefer it that way. All right, and then 2 more things. If you're not distracted while doing this, it's actually much faster and easier looking. Then we're gonna add some pepitas. You can do any kind of seed that you like, magnesium boost, also a little bit of crunch. And then I mixed up a nice creamy dressing. So this is our balsamic vinegar mix. So I used it to marinate, and then I'm also using it to make a dressing. It's mostly Greek yogurt, the mix, and balsamic vinegar, a tiny bit of oil just to thin it out. Okay. So now here's the bowl. Okay, so we've got our protein, omega-3s, nice healthy carbs. We've got magnesium, folate, antioxidants. Boom. Powerball. Excuse the charred greens. You would not char your own greens. You would do.
We can't even tell it's charred. So like, own it, girl. That bowl rocks. You did a great job.
All right. I'm sorry. I'm like cutting it right up to the edge. So my apologies to who is next. But guys, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the time. Thanks for the invite, Liz.
I'm so grateful for you being here and sharing all your awesome nutrition knowledge with us. I wish I had your brain. I love everything that you share. Thank you. I think people are really excited to get the link so that they can order before the 30th and get the free shipping. So hit me up with that and I'll share. And oh, so the giveaways that Katie's doing, that is based on posting, right? And engagement. Okay, so we've got that. And then along with that, I'm also adding in a lemon essential oil. So there'll be a couple giveaways. So there'll be 2 winners of the meal prep sachets, and then I'm giving away a lemon. And lemon goes with every meal. I put a drop or 2 in my water to help cleanse the kidney and the liver. Also boosts the production of glutathione, which is a powerful antioxidant, great for skin health. Amy knows that. And it's just a very powerful antioxidant that's great for inflammation and all the things. So make sure you comment and let us know what you guys thought about all the good information and the awesome meal. So Katie, thank you. And thank your family.
Oh yeah, you're welcome.
House. I don't think we talked about the time difference.
Oh yeah.
So Katie is 2 hours earlier than us, right?
Just one, yeah.
Oh, just
yeah.
one.
It's not, no, yeah, it's not too bad. It's not too bad.
Oh, she's cooking salmon at 7 a.m.
I knew what I was getting into. I'm used to converting, so it's fine. Yeah, thank you.
Good. Thank you so much, and thank your family, and good luck with the move, and I'll be in touch. We'll chat.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.